I watched
So,
PMQs a few times and I've given up now. I can't watch it anymore because every single question that gets tabled, never any straightforward answer. And I know that's not a new problem for prime ministers and leaders of opposition, but it's so frustrating and demeaning to democracy that this is your opportunity on a weekly basis to throw questions, to get information, to hold them to account, and it doesn't fucking work.
so PMQs, that's an interesting one. I think if working in Parliament, I think it's one of the worst 30 minutes of Parliament during any week because actually it doesn't represent the rest of the time. You watch the rest of the time, it's quite
Mm.
civilized, it's very normal, like they'll have conversation, there'll be debate, there'll be normal questions. But unfortunately, what gets broadcast is the 30 minutes in PMQs. That's what people watch. It's almost like the commentary of the football. Like you watch that, but you actually watched, the stuff that goes into it. And I
Right.
think it's a very frustrating aspect because actually that isn't really a representation of Parliament. You watch the rest of Parliament, like I know none of you actually watch BBC Parliament. I mean, it's must have like double figures
Mm.
if they're lucky. And when it comes to the Queen's speech, the only people who probably watch the Queen's speech are the people who actually work in politics. Um, but if you watch it in a normal session, you actually get very sensible conversations, sensible debates. And the House of Lords is very dry
Yeah.
because it's dry, it's very boring.
Good.
And I think it's debates do occur, and you see a lot of it. You see it in the select committees, you see it in APBGs, you see it across the board,
Yeah.
and and you go to your local council meeting. Your local councillors will have these proper, and that should be acknowledged. Actually, your council controls 97% of your entire life, so they control all the budget that affects your life. I mean, Westminster has very little power over you anyway.
Yeah.
And you go to council meetings, they actually are quite sensible, they're quite civilized. But the only one that ever got attention ever was that one on Zoom
Yeah. Yeah.
um, last year. So I think the problem is if the individual needs to spend more time themselves engaged on it, we probably should teach politics more to people so they understand what they're actually watching so they can understand it.
Yeah.
But I think central session happen. I just don't think it ever happens at PMQs, and I don't really think it's. I think PMQs is almost an opportunity just to say what you're doing in your constituency and will you get a prime minister or a minister to speak to you on an issue. And sometimes it's great for getting information out from government. And it's great to get them to acknowledge their policy on something and get them to say, this is what they said, this is their policy on something. As a Boris, no, he's terrible. He doesn't answer questions. Look at when he was London mayor for 8 years.
Mm.
He was very good at, never giving us a straight answer, which is very annoying for people.
It's it's almost like Western democracy was already in a terrible state before he became prime minister, and the terms fake news and biased news get thrown around a lot, and obviously Trump lied habitually. So to then have Johnson arise as prime minister and dodge questions in the way that he does, and like evades interview requests left, right, and center. Right, the way he engages with the public is he'll do a quick 30-second video and put it on Twitter. So again, like quite Trump-esque, I suppose. Uh, it just feels like exactly the thing that we didn't need. You know, I would have.
The sound bites that come from Blair years and the 30-second sound bites and
Yeah,
the slogans and so forth, and that's where it's been going. And people, it's been going like that for 30 odd years.
yeah, I get it. I mean, I don't think it's I think things would be in equally a bad way if we'd had a Labour government for the last like 12 years, if the terms had been reversed, if if
Yeah.
Blair had never happened, if that had been a Tory period and now we were in Labour. I think the nature of how we consume news now, it has a lot to answer for in terms of the kind of politics that we get. I think you're bang on. Like when they know that most people don't, it's like you said. Like most people have lives. Most people have a family that they're worried about, their job. They just want to pay their rent or mortgage, and then just crack on. Like wake up Monday morning, check their emails, go and check their mum's okay, etc., etc. Come home, and then they've literally got 30 seconds to flip the news on. They're like, oh, right, okay, what? Oh, he said what? Oh, okay, cool. Like that's it. The end. So I guess they know, and all of their PR teams know, that if they've got that finite window to make a hit on the everyday person, then it's got to be a quick 15-second soundbite. So I get, like, I
But,
understand why it is the way that it is,
but
but
Labour fails in this at the moment because Labour spends so much on identity politics and making sure that every box is ticked and actually focusing on the actual core issues, which is health or education. So, for example, when a nurse's pay rise was 1%, and so forth. I mean, the problem is health service employs like 1 in 12 people in this country. So even 1% is actually billions of pounds, and so forth. The response to that should have been something like, "Oh, we'll give 5% pay rise or something. We give it for us, we'll give you 5%." There was nothing. There was nothing at
yeah,
all, and it was just always not terrible. And it's like, well, that's nice, but like, what will you do? And it's this like, it's a sense of you don't actually tell us what you want.
yeah,
And I think sometimes as well, when you talk to someone, it's one country on the street, and let's say a charity person, you're almost wanting them to tell you straight away, what do you want from me? Because I don't want to spend 2 to 3 minutes listening to you. I just want to say, oh, I need some money for a bus fare. I need to make a phone call. That's it. I don't want to hear the rest of it.
yeah.
And sometimes it's almost just being to the point, which is, I think people struggle with in politics. They can't just say what they want.